Welcome to Health in Retirement. Each week, we'll discuss some of the health challenges facing retirees. We'll focus on more than just physical health. We'll look at financial health, mental and emotional health, as well as spiritual health. With your host, Rebecca Jones. This is Health in Retirement.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Jones with Health in Retirement, and we want to keep you informed and up to date on all of the things that are accessible to you in your retirement. And that goes along with health, mental, physical, spiritual well-being. And that led me to have a conversation with our guest here today, Andrea Hattan. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
I know you are a busy woman. Like, you are involved in things in the community. And I myself joined. You are with, tell our listeners a little bit about what you do and what your company is about.
Yeah, so I'm the founder of the Hive. It's a co-working and community space for women in business. And it is grown to be a community of around 200 women of all ages. And what's interesting is our community has really reached every age demographic from age 18 to over 70. We have a really diverse group of women that are at all stages of business and life. Mm-hmm. And so some of them have an idea to start a business. Some of them don't even have an idea yet, but they are kind of entrepreneurial and they really like being around other people that have ideas for business. Some people have started a business. Some people have been running a business for a little bit longer, and others are retired and just want to give back and share their insight and expertise, or maybe move on to the next thing.
Right, exactly. I mean, I decided to join the Hive just needing, sometimes you're working from home, especially a lot of people now are working from home, and they miss that sense of
collaboration,
exactly,
and community,
talking at the water cooler type deal,
yeah,
and inspiration. I feel very inspired. So what exactly can one expect when they come and they want to see what the Hive is about?
Yeah, so one of our major values is creating a sense of belonging and also helping people be able to show up vulnerably, empower them towards growth, and then share each other's successes. So when you come to an event, we hope that you feel like you belong there and you feel welcomed. And I used to be a middle school teacher, actually. So I kind of feel like I have a little bit of a gift to help a bunch of people who feel kind of awkward and like they don't belong.
Yeah, it's a new space. I don't know.
In a new space to, really feel safe to show up and be themselves.
Right. And I like that you brought up the fact that you don't necessarily have to have a business. You don't have to be working at the time. You can be retired. You can come in if you want. Maybe you have a little seed of an idea of something now that you have the time and you're retired that you want to work on, but maybe you don't know where to start, or you just want the inspiration. They can come and be involved in the Hive.
Absolutely. So we have a member who's over 70 and she lives in Florida. She recently moved from Wichita to Florida to retire.
Right.
And be in the warm.
As people do.
People do. And she's maintained her Hive membership, even though she's been in Florida now over a year, probably almost 2. And she did it because she says it's one of the first places she's really truly felt loved and accepted and a sense of belonging, and she wanted to maintain that community. So even if they didn't have that kind of community in the new place that she lived in, she was still tied in. Brene Brown, one of my favorite quotes from her is that we're hardwired for connection. Humans need that connection. And so even if it is just having a space to go where you know that you can be in the energy and around the inspiration of women who are doing really cool things, that's a great reason.
Exactly. Connection. And you've said it a couple times, women in business. What about men?
So people ask us that a lot. So we are women focused, not women exclusive. We do have some men that are members, and I always say men are welcome at the Hive as members, as clients. A lot of people bring clients in, and just coffee dates and things like that. But I would say the men who are members, they they just like being in the environment. They say it feels really welcoming and homey and comfortable. And the one thing I always say is that the rest of the world is really the space where men kind of have that ability to always share their ideas freely and feel comfortable doing that. The Hive is a space for women to do that. So if you are a man in our community, just understand that at our events, we're going to focus on women in business. That's our focus. And so if you want to come to an event and help pour into women in business and help support them, that's great. But you're not going to dominate the conversation, because there are other places where you can do that.
Exactly. But they would also get the support that they're needing in their business.
A lot of what's neat about our events is even if you're not the person that's on the hot seat or the person that we're focusing on, and say, for example, a hive mind, which is like a mastermind, everyone always says that you still get tons of ideas and inspiration and connections of where to take your challenges, because at the end of the day, we all have very similar challenges, even if our businesses are entirely different, or even if you're in a career field, you might have some of the same challenges that a business owner has.
Exactly. I have been to a few of these events, and I mean, it's so much more than what I expected. Just the wealth of knowledge that everybody brings to the table, the amount of just helpfulness. Everybody really wants you to succeed. Everybody wants one another to succeed. They want to lift you up. They want to be your biggest supporter. So can you tell us about some of the events that you hold?
Yeah, so that Hive Mind I mentioned it's like a mastermind. We take one woman-owned business and we say, what are 3 challenges that you have? And the entire group loves on her, supports her, gives her ideas, support, encouragement, connections. And we also have lunch and learn once a month. We have a chef-catered meal. We take a business growth topic. We pay our speakers, which I don't know of anybody else in Wichita doing that. I've never been paid to speak anywhere. And we also have an event called Accountability, which I really like, because we meet at a Hive member home or business, and we all set an intention for the month and then hold each other accountable. We also have Bees Grow, which is business coaching.
Awesome. So, I mean, that was a lot to take in. I'm going to kind of dive into a little bit more of those so we can get in depth on some of those events, so you can be kind of aware of what is actually offered. It's just so much knowledge. So we will be back right after this. Hi, and welcome back to Health and Retirement. I'm Rebecca Jones, and I am joined here today with Andrea Hattan, the owner and operator, CEO, woman extraordinaire of The Hive. Thank you again for joining us. I had a few more questions about, so you're mentioning all these events. Just to give everybody an idea about how many events are there in a month?
So we have played around with that a little bit over the years. So when we very first started the Hive, we did an event every day, every weekday.
Whoa.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
Then throughout the pandemic, we scaled down a little bit. We took all of our events virtual. And then when we came back from the pandemic, we found that people were wanting really quality over quantity. And they were really overwhelmed by coming back into this world with all these things to do when we had been isolated for so long and unable to do events. And so we've really scaled it down to just once a week. We have a really solid event that we do every week. So every week there's an opportunity to do an event either in person or watch virtually.
Right. And like you said before, whether you are in Wichita or you're a listener outside of Wichita and you're hearing this, there is a way to be a part of the Hive, even if you're not local, but you stream all the events, and it is just a wealth of knowledge. I did go to one event, the accountabilities, and I just thought it was so great. We all have so much to give, and I love how you can hold each other accountable in a great and helpful way. A lady was wanting to write a book, and I think a lot of people maybe have this idea of wanting to write a book, tell their story, but maybe you don't know where to start or even how to get there, or maybe you're not able to hold yourself accountable, and then that's when you come into play. What are some of the other, you said there's the Hive Mind. What exactly is that again?
So that's the mindset coaching. So that can really help you. Something that might be in the way of you writing that book is really getting in the mindset where you believe that you're worthy to write a book about your life.
Yeah, that you're capable.
Yeah. Worthy or capable. Women in particular struggle with that imposter syndrome quite a bit.
Oh. Guilty.
We feel like we have to get more and more credentials to be worthy of doing what we are doing. And honestly, to teach someone else, as a professionally trained teacher myself, I will tell you, all you need to do is be one step ahead of somebody else. Because honestly, if you're more than one step ahead of somebody, it's much harder. Think about if you're trying to start a blog, right? And you've been blogging for 20 years. The questions that you think somebody might have are completely different than what somebody who's just getting in has. So if you just started a blog last week, you know exactly what questions they have. And they're more maybe basic level questions that you wouldn't think of if you've been doing this your whole life.
Exactly. And with you bringing up the blog, you also have the Hive. If you're local, you have spaces in there for different events. You can rent out the spaces. You can have your own podcast.
Yeah. So we have a recording studio in there because I thought it was kind of silly for each person individually to buy all this equipment and do it in their house when we could just have one place they could come to and record. Now, it's not as fancy as this setup in here, but it's we do have professional mics and professional, backdrop and lighting and things like that, and a tutorial on how to do it. We also have a workshop room, as well as our conference room and main open workspace where people can kind of come, similar to a coffee shop. You come and we have really great coffee. You can set up shop, work on your laptop, work on your passion project.
Right. And have a place for your clients to meet you. And it's a beautiful space. And everybody is so welcoming, makes you feel just valued. And with that being said, and you've mentioned how there's a great diversity of age groups and women of different walks of life. Is there maybe an opportunities for women to come in and volunteer or do some sort of mentorship program?
Yeah, mentorship is amazing. We do something called Coffee Date Roulette. We'll match people with different bees. So if you kind of want to just meet somebody different every week, and if you find somebody that you really connect with, that can be a great opportunity for a mentorship. We had a member who was a little bit older, probably in her 60s, maybe 70s, who did jewelry, and she's been doing it for 40 years.
Right.
And she's just kind of informally started mentoring one of our members who had just started to make jewelry. And so those kinds of things happen really organically.
That's beautiful. How, you can match the energy of the people with what is needed in their personal situation. I would like to talk about, how did you come up with the idea of the Hive?
So I was actually, like I said, I'd been a teacher. I was used to being around 200 plus people every day. And then when I went to work remotely in my own business, I felt isolated and lonely and started to get depressed, to be honest.
Yes. And I think our retirees can kind of feel that same
Absolutely.
exact
When
way.
you're going, and then all of a sudden you stop and you're not seeing people as much or don't have anywhere to go to see people. So I joined a local co-working space, and it was all men in the tech industry. And it didn't feel like an environment that I felt uplifted and inspired by. And so I just thought there's room in the marketplace for something different that's light and bright and inspiring, and maybe it's women focused. And so I really just wanted to be around the energy of other women doing really cool things that would inspire me and motivate me to do more.
I noticed that the more I do get involved with the Hive, it's almost like I feel like there's this snowball effect with inside of myself that I feel like, oh my gosh, I get so excited hearing about what everybody else is doing, and it ignites the fire within myself. I'm just like, yes, I want to cheer them on, but I'm like, you know what? I can too.
Yeah, it's such an interesting thing to explain to people, because people always say, well, what's the return on investment? Like, am I going to get clients from that? And if that's your focus, probably not. But if your focus is on building relationships and connections, that kind of thing is going to come naturally, because people work with people that they know, like, and trust. And so absolutely, people make money and grow their businesses from being a part of the Hive. But our focus is really on the relationships and, what you get out of those. People that have friendships that last a lifetime.
Exactly. It's an investment in yourself and just bettering what you can know, who you can know, and how you can do it.
Being a forever learner. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that's every doctor will tell you it's key to keep your mind and your cognitive function very It's just like a muscle. You have to keep using it. You don't want to stop working. So how can our listeners get a hold of you?
Yeah, so people can go to our website, thehivewichita.com, or they can call us at 316-333-7001. And we can set up a tour or a coffee date, or I can tell you what the next event is if you want to come check it out, or even send you a video of one of our past events.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today, Andrea. I know you're a very busy woman.
Thank you for having me. It was
absolutely.
a pleasure.
And this is Rebecca Jones with Health and Retirement. And up next, we will have our Market Medicare advisor, Cory Hiebert.
Now, our health tip of the week.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Jones, and this is your health tip of the week. Do you have a healthy gut? Many Americans do not have healthy gut, which can lead to a lot of different issues. Autoimmune disorders, maybe sleeplessness, bloating, constipation, diarrhea, maybe skin rashes. There are ways that you can help balance your gut and make sure you have a healthy gut. One way is to make sure that you feed your gut with the right probiotics. Sauerkraut, kombucha, and even kimchi. Make sure it's from the refrigerated section so that they are live, good probiotics. And feed your good bacteria in your gut with a healthy round of fiber, beans, avocado, brown rice. And keep these tips in mind to keep your gut healthy and happy. This is your health tip of the week.
For more health tips, go to healthandretirement.com. This has been your health tip of the week.
Hi, and welcome back. I'm Rebecca Jones with Health and Retirement, and I'm joined here today with Cory Hiebert with Market Medicare Advisors. Welcome back, Cory.
Hi, Rebecca. Good to be back.
So there are so many questions that I have. I'm still learning the ins and outs of Medicare, and I find that you are just a wealth of knowledge. And also, our listeners write in to the website when they have questions. And I invite y'all to do the same as well, to write into the website. And that is, what's the website again?
MarketMedicareAdvisors.com.
Okay. And one of the questions was, does it matter which pharmacy they go to?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. I was actually just dealing with a young lady last week that had a very interesting pharmacy mix-up. She was working with a different agent that wasn't me that had signed her up for a plan last year, and he informed her that she was only going to pay $500 out of her pocket for her prescription medication throughout the entire calendar year.
Right.
But she had met with me because she ended up paying $1,500 out of her own pocket throughout the calendar year.
Yeah, 3 times the amount.
Exactly. And she'd been doing that. So she comes in, she talks with me, and I get her prescription medication list.
Mm-hmm.
And after I take a look at these prescriptions and I plug it into my softwares, I actually ended up coming up with the same plan that she was already on, and that it should have only been costing her $500.
So he put her on the right plan. So then where's the discrepancy? Can you tell us what happened?
Yeah. So he was not very clear with this young lady whenever he signed her up for this plan about being specific as to which pharmacy she was going to. So the pharmacy that she was visiting was actually what the plan considered a non-preferred pharmacy. If she had been going to a pharmacy less than a block away,
right,
so it was right in that same exact area, she would have saved that $1,000 and ended up only paying out that $500 that she was told she would be responsible for.
Right. So in this case, in a lot of cases, this is where we want our listeners to understand that they can have a free consultation with you, get to know their plan, make sure it's right for them, be fully informed.
Yeah, and I think that what you said right there was very important, is that you know your plan, because there are a lot of intricate details that go into these plans, whether the pharmacy be preferred, standard, or not preferred, whether or not you've got the option to use a mail order pharmacy, because
Right.
mail order is becoming a lot more popular than it used to be. And actually using a mail order, we can see some pretty large savings. Another thing that I tell people about whenever we look at prescription drug plans is that if you just change how frequently you pick up medications, that can have a substantial difference on your plan. Picking up in a 3-month supply as opposed to a 1-month supply not only saves you time in going to the pharmacy and doing this, but it also saves you a lot of money to pick up in the 3-month supply as opposed to the 1 month.
That's great information to have. I was also wondering, I mean, are there any things that you would want our listeners to know as like a main point of something you see quite often that people get confused about?
Yeah. So when it comes to prescription drug plans, the biggest thing is is the penalty that could be assessed with it.
That's
that
exactly
is-
where I was going.
Yeah, that is something that can be very confusing, whether or not you're going to be assessed that penalty. So what I tell people is we need the Part D prescription drug plan no matter what. There are some very inexpensive options to get it, but the bottom line is if we don't get that prescription drug plan when we start Medicare A and B, there will be a penalty.
Okay. Well, how can they get a hold of you if they want to see you?
Yeah, you can reach us at 316-867-4MED. That's 316-867-4633.
Thank you, Cory, and thank you, and see you next time on Health in Retirement.
This broadcast is intended for informational and educational purposes only. The views, statements, and opinions expressed herein are those of the individual speakers and not necessarily those of foundations and its affiliates. The information contained herein does not constitute an offer to sell any securities or represent an express or implied opinion or endorsement of any specific investment opportunity, offering, or issuer. Any discussion of performance or returns is not indicative of future results. Each individual investor situation is different, and any ideas provided may not be appropriate for your particular circumstances. Foundations only transacts business in the states where it is registered or is excluded or exempt from registration requirements. Registration as an investment advisor is not an endorsement of the firm by security regulators and does not mean the advisor has achieved a specific level of skill or ability. Legal services are offered by Eidelman Law Firm. Tax services offered by Market Tax Services. Market Advisory Group does not provide legal or tax advice. Investment advisory services are offered through Foundations Investment Advisors LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor.